Hello and welcome to the fourth tutorial about NextJS and GeNYG. So far we saw how GeNYG is great with static rendering, both during build time or during server request. And this is a great feature, of course, whenever we need pages that should be optimized for search engines. But what about those sections inside our website that should look and feel more like a web application, right? So imagine, I don't know, to have a website with all the front end, the static pages, the information, the contacts and stuff, but those pages maybe are populated with a CMS, a content management system that we want to build inside our application. That content management system that is probably protected, right, with some credentials, the experience inside that page, we want to be quite different from the experience that our user will have during the website visits. And that specific portion should work with specific features that in these technologies, in web development, we call the single page application experience. The single page application experience, it is quite different from a normal website navigation because it should just render once. So the first request to the server should render the page, and then the navigation inside should be dynamic. So we don't want every time that we change page inside our web application to request a new page from the server and re-render. We want the experience to be smooth. To integrate in NextJS this kind of experience, we created a specific command that is the GeNYG package SPA. Thanks to this command, we will install a bunch of libraries, including React Router DOM and Redux, that will be fundamental to create this kind of experience. After we install our package, we will see that there are some slight configuration. Here, the package SPA is installed, and of course, as we said, there are some new libraries, including redux-sagas toolkit and React Router DOM. This package, of course, will just install the libraries without modifying our project. So if we want to actually create a route in our project that we want to behave like a single page application, we have to run a specific command that is GeNYG SPA without package. This command will prompt us for the single page application name. So imagine that we want to create for our GetUpper website a content management system. We can call it something like admin dashboard, probably. So it will be the dashboard that the administrator of the GetUpper website can use to modify and update the contents of the front-end website that our customers will visit. The second parameter is the route or the page inside our domain, our website. So we will choose the route as basic route, and then we should name what is the route where we want to render our single page application. In this case, I will easily call it admin. GeNYG shows us that all the files that have been created, and you can see there are already a bunch of files created, and there is also one file that should be overwritten. That is the next config option JSON. If we open this file now, we see that inside the rewrites, that before it was just an empty array, now we have this new entry with source admin path, and this is, let's say, a wildcard, and destination admin. What does it need? As we will see when developing the single page application, the /admin will be the route to render our single page application. But inside that page, we can have sub-routes. I don't know, if we want to go in this admin dashboard, we want to create a section, probably to modify the projects, the list of the projects that we created with GetUpper so far. Maybe we can have a projects section, and we want, once clicking on that link, to navigate to /admin/projects. But as we said before, we don't want that when we request this page to the server NextJS to look for the specific pages inside admin/projects. But we want this sub-route to be handled inside the system that we will build with React Router DOM that we will talk in a few minutes. So here we are just saying that every request coming from the browser, of course, requesting something like /admin/anything, any sub-routes, we should actually render the /admin page. That is this one. So the admin page, again, is this page with admin dashboard, single page application. And if we open it, you can see here that this component has been created inside the SPAs folder. It is this new folder. So inside the SPAs folder, we will have all the possible single page application, because we can have different sections inside our website that we want to use as a web application experience. Here we are creating the dashboard for the administrators, but we can have also, I don't know, a section for our users, for our customers to log in the future and navigate through some contents that is protected by credentials, so we don't need search engine optimization and stuff, and we want more a dynamic experience, so we can create, I don't know, the customer dashboard. That is a different single page application with its sub-routing and everything. That's why we created a specific folder with some SPAs subfolders inside. And here, from the pages admin index, we are actually importing the index file from this new folder and rendering here. If we open this file, it is inside SPA's admin dashboard, the index file, we can see something quite new and interesting from Next.js. That is this dynamic importing from Next Dynamic. Actually, this function, this component, actually helps us to import or to render components, React components, dynamically. Why this is really useful? Because usually inside a single page application, it is quite common to use libraries that are available only in the browser. So that probably they access the window or the document objects that during rendering time statically from the server side, they're not there, right? We are rendering in the server, so we don't have access to the window and document objects that are specifically for the browser renderings. Also, we said that we have no need to render this page from the server side because it's a single page application, it's a dynamic application, so we don't need search engine optimization. So thanks to this import here, we can use this dynamic function to dynamically import this app wrapper that we will see now what it's doing. And we can also specify as options SSR false, so server-side rendering false. This component here is imported dynamically, and this is really important also to avoid some issues while Next can try to render this page during build time. We will see later what does it mean, but the important to understand at the moment is that thanks to this approach, we are actually telling Next.js that this component should be just rendered in the front end. We don't want any server-side rendering so far. So let's give a look to the app wrapper component. The app wrapper, again, it's just a wrapper around our single page application that is providing a couple of contexts. So we have the provider from React Redux and the persist gate from the redux-persist plugin for Redux. So these two are two React contexts inside that will just provide our Redux store to our application. And redux-persist is just a plugin that will allow our application to save and store the state of the application itself in the local storage in the front end. So whenever we reload the web application, we don't have to, let's say, requery all the documents and stuff from the server, from some APIs, but if we already navigated the page before, we can actually cache those state that Redux store inside the local storage and retrieve it for also a faster web application loading. So here we have also the app component that we can open, and the app component it looks like this. So we have a theme provider that is from our Material UI library. The theme provider will just apply the theme that we created so far with Material UI and that we can actually use also outside of the dashboard. So if we want a specific theme for our web application, the single page application, we can actually specify here a different one. But if we don't want, we can just use the same theme that we were using for our GetUpper front-end customer website. Okay, so this is just some basic CSS to reset the style that sometimes the browser applies. And then we have the browser router from React Router DOM. So we said that whenever we navigate to a page, in this specific case, a subroute of /admin, we want the navigation to be dynamic. We don't want Next.js to do its stuff. We want this React Router DOM to apply its features. And we already saw here with this override, it was the first step. The second step is to actually create this dynamic router in the front end. We can do this thanks to the React Router DOM and this browser router, routes, and route components. I will not enter in the very details of these libraries, both Redux and React Router DOM. I will assume that if you're watching these videos, these tutorials, you already have the basics of these two technologies, so I will just use them without explaining too much. GeNYG by default will populate our browser router with a simple route matching the, let's say, the root route. Here with base name, it will be the same page that we inputted during the creation of the single page application. So everything after this admin will be rendered depending on this path parameter. By default, there is just this text here, will be displayed, just you know, a placeholder before actually putting some component. So let's restart our server because we modified during the installation of the single page application these rewrites that is included in the Next.js configuration. So we want to restart in order for Next.js to understand the new configuration. And now if we try to go to /admin, we will see that the test string is rendered and everything is working so far. Now if we add something else after admin, we realize that there is no error, there is no 404 error from Next.js. Why? Because thanks to that rewrite, now everything that we will put after admin, it will be actually sent to the admin page, and then the routing will be managed from React Router DOM. In this case, there is no specific path that is taking care of these random characters that I put, so nothing is rendered, but there is no error actually. So how we can actually create this dynamic navigation? Well, there is one of the first commands specific for single page application, that there is the scene one. So let's invoke it with GeNYG scene. And the first parameter that GeNYG is asking us is in which single page application we want to create the scene. In this case, we just created one single page application, so we will select the admin dashboard. Now we should specify what is the name of the scene. This is a concept that is similar to the page, but we will see later that is not completely the same. In this case, I will call it, let's say, the dashboard scene. Perfect. Now, if we navigate inside our single page application, inside the scenes folder, we will have this new dashboard scene with an index file and the classic hook file. Here we can try again to put something like maybe a typography from Material UI. It worked. Now we should import this new scene inside our route. Dashboard scene. Let's go back here, let's remove these characters. It worked. So right now it is rendering actually what we want to be rendered. From now on, we can create also different scenes and navigate through them, and we should be careful in the future that when we navigate inside the React Router DOM realm, we are not using the link from NextJS to navigate through pages, but we will use a specific link from React Router DOM. Now I will add a really basic Material UI components to our page just to have something to start to work with. Okay, with a quick fast forward, this is how I've been created so far. So we have our browser router with some UI to display an app bar at the top. And here we have this new component, the responsive drawer, that we will see now how it works. Then another container for our page. And inside this box here, we have our routes with every route that we want to display inside. This is the final UI. So here we have the app toolbar, here the responsive drawer. And this piece of UI here, it will be the one that we will actually control thanks to the React Router DOM. If I go in responsive like this, the responsive drawer will be modified inside of this, so everything works as expected. I already included also a menu here with home and progetti. If I click on progetti, the route will change with the React Router DOM link that I used here. This link, it is imported from React Router DOM. Now what we want to do right now, it is to actually switch the content rendered from React Router DOM and the browser router depending on the current route. So we will go and create a new scene. Inside the admin dashboard, we will call it the projects scene. Inside the dashboard one, we can put a simple text. Inside the project scene, we will have to build in the future, but so far we can put a typography with a text. Now here we can create a new route that will correspond to projects, and we will render our projects scene. Now we just need to move these routes here where it is supposed to be. Now if I navigate to home, I will see the menu. Inside progetti, I will see progetti. So the routing is working as expected. As you can see here, we are not reloading everything. So all the navigation is dynamic. And if we try to reload actually this page, we will see that even if this admin projects doesn't exist inside the next, thanks to the rewrite options and thanks to how we configured React Router DOM, it is still working and the right scene is rendered here. We don't have yet, of course, a backend and API database where to read these projects. So right now we can just add a create button maybe to create and leave the opportunity later to create a new project. So let's modify our project scene slightly like this. Okay, right now I just created a simple stack with a link and a Material Web button inside to switch to the Nuovo Progetto page and a typography just as a placeholder for the future. So by clicking here, we will switch to admin/Nuovo Progetto. That is a route that we are not handling yet. So let's go back here and create the new scene like this. Now we can link it here in our browser router. Inside the new project scene, maybe we want to display a form. So let's create a form with GeNYG, of course. We will call it new project form. and we can render inside the new scene. Let's add a form text field just to check that everything is working. Here we go. Perfect. Our form is rendered inside the page. Later we will add for sure a submit button. Like this. Now that we saw how to realize scenes and creating the navigation inside our single page application, let's add also some business logic. So we will use Redux toolkit to do it. Redux in our gaining single page applications projects work with in a slices mode. That means that our store is divided in different objects. So if we access the Redux store folder, we have this slices folder. There are already a couple of slices created by GeNYG to handle feedbacks and Ajax calls, but we can create new slices to handle different kind of data inside our application with the gnext slice command. Like the scene command, also this slice command asks for which single page application we want to apply it, in this case admin dashboard, and then we can give it a name. In this case, we will call it projects, so it will be the slice that we will use to handle and manage our projects data. After creating the slice, inside the slices folder, we will have our new projects folder with a bunch of files. The first one is the interfaces, so this will represent the object inside our Redux store. Let's create just a template with an empty list. This is the index file where we actually create the slice. Here there is our initial state, project state. Now it is in error because we are not declaring the required list property. This is the slice with the reducers where we can actually modify our state. So let's say add new project. The first parameter is the state, the second one is the action that we can also type. It is a good, nice convention to do it. And we will use our interface file to do it. Like this. So now we can do state.list push action.payload.name. Here, of course, we should give a type to our list. Right now, we will just declare a name string like this. We come back here, and now it works because action payload is actually an object with name inside, exactly like our list. So this is a simple, really simple reducer with an action, with thanks to Redux toolkit. Now, since our state list can be undefined with redux-persist in some case, let's just put a better way to write this push like this. Perfect. Now we can go to the third file, that is the selectors, where we can actually select some options from our slice. So like this, we are creating the create projects list selector. The fourth file is the sagas. Sagas are a specific plugin for Redux that I use to handle, let's say, side effects and really complicated asynchronous flows, thanks to generator functions that you can recognize by the star here after function. This is, let's say, an advanced topic that is also useless to cover right now, but we will see later when we will introduce the API and Ajax calls. So for the moment, just go back to our form, new project scene index, new project form. Let's apply some data to our form. So let's uncomment this name with some error message. This is the TypeScript interface for our form, the validation. And here in the submit, we can actually import the dispatch function from Redux. And here we can dispatch actions dot add new project and we can pass directly data. So data here, it is again an object with name string inside, thanks to this typing. Add new project, accept an object like that, so everything works from a TypeScript point of view, and this dispatch here will actually hit our store and trigger the add new project reducer. Now let's add just a reset function to empty our form. We can go back here, refresh just in case, get up our website, save. The form is empty, and here we have the action inside the Redux developer tool, projects, list, name, get upper website. So everything worked, the action has been triggered, the reducer did its job by adding this new project. We can try with something else, another project, save, other project, and now in our state we will have 2 projects. Now let's visualize these 2 new projects inside our list. So let's go back in the process projects scene. Inside the hook here we can use const projects list, use selector. Use selector is one of the other 2 really useful hooks by Redux. One is use dispatch to dispatch a new action, use selector to retrieve data from the store. Selectors from Redux store dot get projects list. We can send this list to the UI. We can import it here, and here we can create our map. Projects list dot map project. We can use probably a simple paper in this case. Project.name. Since we are using a map, don't forget to put the key. Like this. Now let's go back to our UI. Home, benvenuto, progetti, creiamo un progetto, lista progetti attuali, get upper website, other project. We can make this a little bit nicer with some padding. Like this. Perfect. So now we can create new projects, write everything we want, save it, go back to projects, and we will see the new project here in the list. This is actually everything basic to handle single page applications. Of course, another important topic will be the AJAX calls, thanks to the ones that we can actually call the APIs, retrieve some data, and return it, probably store to Redux, and then use with the selectors in our UI with some buttons and some new forms interact with these APIs to create and delete data. But before doing all of this, we need to create APIs. So in the next tutorials, we will see how to create APIs, how to manage a database. In our case, it will be Mongo database, MongoDB, and we will also include this AJAX call and integrate everything in order to complete the experience in our NextJS projects.